Merry Christmas, everybody! I apologize because it's been about 3 weeks since I made a video, and life just got the best of me, really. I've been doing really well, and I just wanted to do an update and also wish you guys a happy holidays. I hope that you have time to spend with people you care about, and that you're able to do that, because that's really how you should be all the time. But hopefully, you can at least be that way during the holidays, right? So I wish you guys a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays if you don't do that kind of thing. I used to celebrate Christmas, actually. I don't at the moment, but I would like to go back into getting a Christmas tree and putting all the decorations on it and maybe having one of those little choo-choo trains that goes around. I mean, those things are really cool. That's kind of like what I like about Christmas. But I wanted to show you guys what I've been doing because I spend a lot more time working on the environment now. Like, specifically, I've been studying permaculture, and I've been really inspired by that. I'm going to show you the chickens and introduce you to the animals I'm taking care of, and also show you the plants. And that'll be the rest of this video. So if you just wanted a holiday greeting, you can leave now. Bye-bye. Have a Merry Christmas. And otherwise, stay on to learn about permaculture and plants. It all started with this box thing, really. This used to be just a box I filled with dirt. I tried to grow tomatoes in it, and they all died. I was practicing monoculture. Now, monoculture is so lame. So now I've been studying permaculture, and basically just giving up on trying to produce anything, and just focusing on different plants, getting comfortable with them, studying how they grow, and how they fruit, and their relationship with the water, and the soil, and everything. So this box, which used to just house tomatoes, now houses tons of different stuff, right? It's got mushrooms growing, there's this big log, I learned about watering, so there's this big water hole, there's a whole story behind that. There's another hidden water hole over here, actually, down there. Basically, with something this big, if you just water the top of it, the water just goes off the edges, and you never get deep penetration so the roots can really grow. So it taught me how the shape of the soil determines how effective the watering is. And that was a big lesson as well. Another lesson, you see this? Covering the soil. That's super, super, super important. I used to just think it was the chemistry, like what is in your soil. But it turns out gardening and permaculture isn't really about the chemistry. That's an actual minor part. It's about the physics of putting things in the right place so that the plants can grow. And believe it or not, you can actually grow plants out of bad soil if you cover the dirt, you make sure that they're not watered too much, it can drain, and there's ways to get the most out of whatever soil quality you have. But the key is to be generating some soil. And if you cover the soil, you basically help the bugs make more of it. But if the soil is uncovered, it will eventually get sunburned and diseased, and it gets this like white film on it from the sun. And that's actually really bad for the plants because the plants don't get nutrition from the soil. They get nutrition from the bacteria that are in the soil. So your plants can only be as healthy as the biodiversity of the bacteria within your soil. So this, you can see, has a bunch of biodiversity now, but it didn't used to be like this. This used to just be monoculture tomatoes. I tried growing them in this box. There's plenty of sun, and they all would die. I tried 30 different tomatoes over a period of like 7 months, and it turns out that this soil was infected with this, they're called nematodes, and they eat the roots of the tomato plant. But obviously, I mean, you can see there is a lot of stuff growing in here now, right? I didn't use any fertilizer, I didn't do anything else. And I even have tomato plants growing in here that haven't died. And so it looks like you can actually overwhelm the soil overwhelm the nematodes with so many different kinds of plants and so many different things there that they don't really know where the food is anymore. So even though they're still in the soil, I'd imagine, they just aren't able to locate the plants that they can kill. And I guess that's why so much stuff grows here. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. But this is the box number 1. Now let's get to meet the animals. Welcome to the back part of the house. Lots more plants, right? See, I'm doing more soil studying here, trying to get seeds out of this Napa cabbage, all sorts of cool stuff. Did you know you can just buy a Napa cabbage, never water it, and leave it in the sun with the dirt, and it'll actually come back to life? Pretty crazy. But if you water it, it'll rot and die, so you can't do that. There's all these little guys. I'm experimenting here. So these are cherry tomatoes grown in compost. These 3 are compost. And then these 3 are just regular dirt. So I'm really trying to understand what plants can grow in regular Nicaraguan dirt and what plants need to grow in compost. But now let's go and meet the latest ladies, or the latest additions. There's actually 2 new animals here, but one of them is quite sick, unfortunately. Whenever you buy animals here, like, it's probable they're not always going to be in good conditions, right? So we just got him like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he has gapeworm, which is a parasite of the trachea in the neck. So you can see how he's doing that. And he's actually doing a lot better, believe it or not. He's been on treatment for like 3 or 4 days. I use a drug called flubendazole to treat gapeworm. And it's kind of sad because he's really cute. But everyone else is really healthy, and they're all being treated too. So the 2 little ones you see right here, they're not regular chickens. This is a regular chicken. Oh, you're so beautiful, aren't you? This is Rojo. Yes, I know. You're very, very, very cute. She's lucky right now because the other 2 chickens are over in their area. Here's Specs. Hello, Specs. What's going on? Specs is the one with the most personality. She's the loudest. Also the smallest and the first to start laying eggs. And here coming over with a big flap, that's Maggie. Now, those are regular chickens. These, I don't actually know what they're called in English. I think they're some kind of bantam. But in Nicaraguan Spanish, they're called aztequitas. And hopefully the little guy survives. Treatment's really harsh, so I thought he was going to die a couple days ago, but he didn't, and he got a bit better. So hopefully in the future, you guys will see some content about these 2 aztequitas. As you can see, the lady on the right is just way healthier. She's like totally fine, even though she's on the same anti-parasitic medication. Whereas the other guy, he was just fucking floored. And at night, it's harsh, man. I like these little ones, so I get affected when they get sick. I want to take care of them. Now you've met the 2 chickens, and I can talk a little bit about this whole area. Because, as I mentioned, I've been studying permaculture. And permaculture has a lot of different definitions. People call it different things. But for me, it's the art of growing things without using fertilizer, without buying chemicals, without using pesticides. That's the simplest way to put it. Really, it's like permanent growing. So like you can grow a food forest, for example, in permaculture that produces food, and then you could leave for 10 years and come back and just cut some of it down, and you would still have a functioning food forest. It'd be really messy and covered in insects because nobody was eating the food and stuff. But you can make plants and trees in a way where they fertilize each other and they keep growing and growing. So the most important thing to understand about that is the soil, the water, the relationship the water has with the soil, and the relationship the sun has with the soil. So compost plays a huge, huge role in that, because you can't just grow stuff in dirt like this, even though this is like Nicaragua, right? So this is like volcanic dirt. It's actually pretty useful. There's a lot of elements in it. But even that being said, you can't just grow in this. You need air. You need the right drainage. You need protection from the sun. There's a whole lot of different factors that go into what a plant really needs. And from the West, we tend to obsess about chemicals in these things. We think of gardening and planting as a chemistry equation, right? You need to get the nitrogen and get the fertilizer you need. But that isn't actually how it works. You don't really need to think much about chemistry at all. You just need to focus on physics. How does the water dry out the soil? Where does the water drain to underground? You need to learn all these things because you may think that, oh, it's easy. If the ground's dry, it's dry underneath. If it's wet underneath. There's actually whole ecosystems and little almost rivers of humidity and moisture under the arid soil. And you have to learn about all this stuff if you really want to make permanent planting things that feed you without using fertilizer. So here I have a couple other plants. This is a cacao. This is black pepper. And so is this. These are really interesting plants because they basically just grow themselves. As long as you cover the soil properly, you can water this once every 2 months. Like, it's insane. Same with the cacao. They like, it looks like a lot of the kind of producing plants that like things in the tropics, they really don't like very wet soil. So it's better that you like have something that drains really well, but also holds the moisture. Because one of the problems with the sunlight hitting the top of the soil is that it just sucks all of the water out, like immediately. So if this was exposed dirt and this was left in the sun, like the direct sun, it could dry out in 1 or 2 days, even if it was totally soaked. But because it's covered and it's in a shaded location, it can stay moist enough for this plant for 2 whole months, which makes things easier because I'm less likely to forget about watering it because I don't need to water it every single day. And that's why this compost pile is here. I've been studying compost because when you're doing permaculture, you really need to understand how to make compost, how to acquire it, and the chickens play a big role in that. They don't just poop in it. They move stuff around, they dig in it, they eat the bugs, convert them to chicken poo. They do a mechanical service of moving around. And that's why the chickens basically live in this compost pile. And then I use the compost to grow things that I can't grow just with regular dirt, which is actually most stuff. Plants like this, right? These certain like local non-fruiting plants can grow really, really well in dirt. This is just a water plant, for example. I think you guys might call these elephant ears. I just call them big leaf plants. They're really, really easy to grow. These are actually all from that mother tree. She doesn't look very big right now, but that's because I've cut hundreds of leaves. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I've cut hundreds of these things, these huge ass leaves, just from this one kind of root. These plants are gods. They're like unkillable. The only problems they have are if they don't get any water. You can see that accumulation, right? And so to sum up my final thing, I'll talk about a way that you can organically take care of pests. This is a chili plant. And one thing I've learned about chilies is they're really, really good at attracting dry pests. And dry pests are things like whitefly, spider mite. They thrive when there's not water cleaning the leaves. Because in nature, the way that a plant's immune system works, believe it or not, actually doesn't just involve the plant. It's kind of like us. We tend to think that the immune system stops at the organism, but that's not actually true. The organism's immune system extends into the environment around it. So the immune system of many plants includes rainfall to clean the dust and things off of the plant's leaves tops. So when you do not have regular rainfall clearing the plants through this mechanical action, then the bug eggs, the dry bug eggs, the spider mites, the whitefly, mealybugs, all this kind of stuff, they will thrive because their life cycle can just keep going unabated. So a whole plant like this could be totally covered by bugs in like 1 to 2 weeks, even though it's super clean right now. And I don't use any pesticides, anything else. And this is like my 20th chili. So I've learned at this point. And what works really well, actually, Because you may say, like, okay, so you can use water as a pesticide, but how do you do that? Because you can't just, like, spray the tree or the plant with, like, with a hose or something. It's not going to work really well. And that is where one of these comes in. It's a bit ironic because these things, right, these misters, they're called fumigators, and they're normally used to spray pesticide. If you've never seen one of these before, it's a bottle of water with a pipe, and you pump it to put air pressure in, and then it shoots out the water, and it can do it like a mist. See how it makes a rainbow? Or you can, like, adjust it so it's more like a regular, like, stream of water. Oh, no! Right. So, yeah, we're good. Now, there are some aphids here. Let me find them. There we go. And they're going to provide a great demonstration of why these things are so useful. Because you can basically just go... It's kind of hard for me to do this one-handed, so bear with me for a moment, okay? You just find them, and then you just spray. And what you're looking for is that dripping action. So what's happening is that is the plant's immune system. In nature, that's what happens. The water falls and cleans off the leaf. So sometimes you have to actually touch them as well. It depends how early you catch them. But you can see already, there are some aphids left. And all you need to do is just a little bit of that, and then it's totally clear, right? So as long as you're doing that, at a minimum, like twice a week, you'll never have bug problems get that bad. But the problem is it's not really scalable. Like, this works because this is one chili and I have free time. But if you have like a whole farm of chilies, it's much more complicated because the heat in Nicaragua is what allows you to do this. Normally, you can't just spray plants with water because they'll get a lot of fungal disease. But because everything's quite sunny, you can do this, and then these leaves will be dry really fast, and it doesn't really cause fungal disease. If you do it in the rainy season, it will cause fungal disease because, like, you see how the sky is blue? That means you can do it. You can spray your plants with water when the sky is blue and the clouds are clear. But if it's really cloudy, then it might encourage fungal growth. So that's just a general rule of thumb. So, long story short, I've been busy, but I'm still interested in making Nicaragua content for you guys. And let me know if there's anything you want. I got a bunch of ideas of different stuff. For example, how do you find stuff in Nicaragua? Because a lot of people think, oh, you can't access things, can't use Amazon, but you can find anything, especially if you're in Managua. The amount of things you can get delivered to your doorstep is unimaginable. It's so cool. There's so many different things. That's how I acquire plants and all sorts of stuff, right? All this wood and material for the chicken stuff, all this was just delivered, It's really, really cool. And I got a bunch of other Nicaragua content that will be coming out. So I'll see you guys there. If you want any kind of consultations, you can go to Jack Dermot Pittman in the link below on Calendly or calendly.com/Jack Dermot Pittman. They're $20 per 30-minute session. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there. Bye!